You were born to help everyone else. But who was born to help you? That question might sting a little if you are someone who has spent decades putting other people first. Tonight I want to talk directly to your tired heart because I know it has been working overtime for years and nobody ever told it that rest is not a crime. You finish your work and your chores and you finally sit down in the quiet of the evening, and somewhere deep inside you feel a heaviness that has no name. Maybe you are lying in bed right now replaying the day in your mind. Maybe you are wondering why you still feel empty even though you did everything right. You said yes when you wanted to say no. You smiled when you wanted to cry. You read the room and adjusted yourself before anyone even asked you to. You have been doing this for so long that you forgot there was ever another way to live. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to know something important. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not selfish for feeling exhausted. The truth is actually the opposite. You are tired precisely because you have been so strong for so long. Your ability to sense what other people need is extraordinary. From a brain science perspective, your mind operates like a high-powered radar system. It picks up tiny shifts in tone and expression that most people miss completely. You notice when someone's smile does not reach their eyes. You catch the slight tension in a voice before a word is even finished. And then you act. You step in and you smooth things over and you give away your energy like it costs you nothing. But it does cost you. It costs you everything. Think of it this way. Even the most advanced computer will overheat if you never let it rest. That is exactly what has happened to your heart. It has been running at full capacity for decades without a single software update or cooling break. The state you are in right now has a name. It is called emotional burnout. And it is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you have been giving at a level most people cannot even imagine. So tonight let us talk about why this happens and more importantly what you can do about it starting right now. There is a concept in psychology called over-adaptation. It means pushing down your own feelings and desires in order to match what the environment seems to demand from you. People who are highly empathetic are especially vulnerable to this pattern. Your brain's empathy circuits are incredibly sensitive. They fire at the smallest signal. A coworker's sigh. A family member's silence. A neighbor's forced laugh. You pick up all of it, and your brain immediately goes to work trying to fix it. This is not something you chose. It is something your nervous system learned to do a very long time ago. Maybe it started in childhood when you realized that being helpful kept the peace. Maybe you learned early that your needs came second or third or not at all. Whatever the origin, this pattern became your survival strategy. And it worked. It kept you safe and it made you loved and it earned you a reputation as the person everyone could count on. But survival strategies have an expiration date. What once protected you is now slowly draining you dry. Let me tell you about a woman I will call Margaret. She lived in a quiet suburb and spent years caring for her aging in-laws while raising 2 children mostly on her own. She volunteered at the local school. She organized neighborhood events. She was the first person anyone called when they needed help. People said things like, "We are so lucky to have Margaret around." That sentence became her oxygen. It was the only proof she had that her existence mattered. So she kept going. She cooked meals she did not want to cook. She attended events she did not want to attend. She listened to complaints for hours when her own body was screaming for sleep. She smiled and she nodded and she said, "Of course, I do not mind at all." One Tuesday evening she stood in the grocery store staring at the shelves. She had come to buy something for dinner. But she could not figure out what she wanted. Not what her family wanted. Not what would be easiest. What she actually wanted to eat. The question was so foreign that it broke something open inside her. She stood there with tears running down her face, unable to name a single personal desire. That moment was not a breakdown. It was a breakthrough. It was her heart finally saying, I exist too. Margaret had spent so many years conducting everyone else's orchestra that she forgot she had her own music inside her. Her tears were not weakness. They were the first honest sound she had made in years. Now I want to be clear about something. Margaret's story is not unusual. In fact, it is remarkably common among people who score high in empathy and conscientiousness. The pattern is predictable. You give and give and give. The giving feels good at first because it confirms your worth. Then slowly the giving starts to feel mandatory. You no longer do it because you want to. You do it because you are terrified of what happens if you stop. Will people still love you if you are not useful? Will you still matter if you say no? These questions haunt you at 3 in the morning. They sit on your chest like stones. And they point to something deeper than just being too nice. They point to a psychological pattern that researchers call the savior complex. This is not an insult. It is a description of a very human need. The savior complex works like this. Deep down you carry a belief that your value as a person is directly tied to how much you do for others. When you are helping someone, you feel calm. You feel purposeful. You feel like you have earned your place in the world. But the moment you stop helping, the anxiety rushes in. A voice whispers you are useless now. You do not deserve rest. You have not done enough. This voice is a liar, but it is very convincing. It has been practicing for decades. There was a man I will call Robert. He retired after 35 years at a manufacturing company. Without his work identity, he felt lost. So he threw himself into community service. He mediated disputes between neighbors. He organized park cleanups. He drove elderly residents to their appointments. People said, Robert, you are a lifesaver, and those words lit him up inside. They made him feel real again. But something shifted over time. If someone forgot to thank him, he spiraled. If a day passed without a request for help, he panicked. He started picking up his phone every few minutes, checking for messages. He lay awake at night convinced that nobody needed him anymore. His chest would tighten and his breath would shorten, and he felt like he was disappearing. Robert was not addicted to helping people. He was addicted to the feeling of being needed, because without it he did not know who he was. What Robert truly craved was not applause or gratitude. It was the simple, quiet certainty that he was allowed to exist without earning it. He wanted to know that Robert, sitting still doing nothing, was still worthy of love. That is what you want too. I know it because I can hear it in the exhaustion you carry. You want permission to just be. Not to perform. Not to produce. Not to fix. Just to breathe, and to know that breathing is enough. And I am telling you right now, it is enough. You are enough exactly as you are in this moment. Even if you did nothing tomorrow, your worth would not decrease by a single fraction. Your value is not a paycheck you earn through service. It is a birthright you carry simply because you are alive. But knowing this intellectually and feeling it in your bones are two very different things. So let us talk about how to actually protect your energy going forward. The tool I want to give you tonight is called a boundary. In psychology, we call it a psychological boundary line. It is not a wall. It is not a weapon. It is not a way to punish people or push them away. Think of it more like a fence around a garden. The fence does not hate the outside world. It simply says this space inside is where I grow my own flowers and I get to decide who enters and when. Imagine there is a hula hoop on the ground around your feet. Everything inside that circle belongs to you. Your feelings, your time, your energy, your peace. Other people have their own circles. Their problems live inside their space. You can stand at the edge of your circle and offer a kind word or a helping hand. But you do not have to step out of your own circle and into theirs. And when someone tries to step into your circle without permission, you are allowed to say not right now. That is not cruelty. That is maintenance. Think about it practically. If you say yes to every request, eventually you collapse. And when you collapse, you cannot help anyone at all. So saying no today is actually saying yes to being available tomorrow. It is saying I respect this relationship enough to protect my ability to show up fully when it truly matters. Margaret learned this the hard way. After her grocery store moment, she started small. One night a friend called to vent about her marriage. Normally Margaret would have listened for 2 hours regardless of how tired she was. But that night she took a breath and said something new. She said, I really want to hear about this, but I am so tired tonight. Can we talk this weekend instead? Her heart pounded after she hung up. She felt guilty. She felt selfish. She was sure her friend would never call again. But something else happened too. She made herself a cup of tea. She sat in her kitchen alone. She breathed in the steam and felt the warmth of the mug against her palms. And for the first time in years she felt like she was home inside her own body. Her friend called back that weekend. She was not angry. She had not even noticed anything unusual. The catastrophe Margaret feared never happened. That is how it usually goes. The people who truly love you will not leave because you said not tonight. And the people who would leave over something that small were never holding space for you in the first place. Setting a boundary does not make you cold. It makes you sustainable. It means you are choosing to be a lantern that burns steadily for years rather than a firework that explodes in one brilliant moment and then goes dark. You have been the firework for too long. It is time to become the lantern. Now I want to address something that might be sitting in the back of your mind. You might be thinking, this sounds nice, but I cannot change who I am. I have always been this way. And you are right that this pattern is deeply ingrained. But you are wrong that it cannot shift. You do not need to become a different person. You do not need to stop being kind or empathetic or generous. Those qualities are beautiful, and the world needs them. What you need to do is redirect some of that kindness inward. Just some. Not all. Just enough to keep your own fire burning. Start with something tiny. Tomorrow, when someone asks you to do something and your first instinct is to say yes even though you are exhausted, I want you to pause. Just pause. Take one breath. And ask yourself, do I actually have the energy for this right now? If the answer is no, then practice saying, let me think about it, and I will get back to you. You do not even have to say no directly at first. Just buy yourself time. That pause is revolutionary. It breaks the automatic cycle of reactive collapse. It puts a small space between the request and your response. And in that space you get to choose. Maybe you will still say yes. But it will be a yes that comes from genuine willingness, not from fear. That is a completely different kind of yes. It is a yes that does not leave you hollow afterward. Let me give you another small tool. At the end of each day, ask yourself one question. What did I do today just for me? It does not have to be grand. Maybe you took 5 extra minutes in the shower. Maybe you read a page of a book you enjoy. Maybe you sat in your car for a moment before walking into the house just to breathe. These tiny acts are not indulgence. They are maintenance. They are you telling your own heart, I see you and you matter too. Over time, these moments accumulate. They form a new pattern. They teach your nervous system that rest is safe. That your worth does not depend on productivity. That you are allowed to take up space in your own life. Picture a winter garden. The snow is falling softly. The ground is bare. Nothing is blooming. But beneath the frozen soil the roots are alive. They are resting. They are gathering strength. They are preparing for a season that has not arrived yet. Your life might feel like winter right now. The color might feel drained from your days. The busyness that used to distract you might have lost its power. But this quiet season is not emptiness. It is restoration. You spent decades being spring and summer for everyone around you. You blossomed and bore fruit, and gave shade and asked for nothing in return. Now it is your winter. And winter is not death. Winter is the season where the deepest healing happens because nobody is watching and nothing is expected, and you can finally turn all that nurturing energy toward your own roots. You do not need to bloom for anyone right now. You do not need to be bright or fragrant or useful. You just need to let yourself rest in the dark, warm earth of your own compassion, and trust that when the time is right you will bloom again. And when you do, it will be different. It will be a blooming that does not cost you your health or your peace. It will be a blooming that comes from overflow rather than obligation. You will help people not because you are afraid they will leave if you do not, but because your cup is genuinely full and sharing feels like joy rather than duty. That is the life waiting for you on the other side of the season. It is not far away. It begins with one small choice repeated gently over time. The choice to treat yourself the way you have always treated everyone else. With patience. With forgiveness. With unconditional warmth. So tonight, as you settle into your bed, I want you to feel the softness of your blanket against your skin. I want you to notice the quiet rhythm of your own breathing. In and out. In and out. That breath has carried you through every hard day. Every thankless task. Every moment when you smiled while your heart was breaking. That breath never abandoned you. It has been your most faithful companion. And right now in this quiet moment it is asking you for nothing except to notice it. To be grateful for it. To let it carry you gently into sleep. You do not need to solve anything tonight. The worries can wait until morning. The people who need things from you will still be there tomorrow. But tonight belongs to you. Only you. You have earned this rest not through more doing but simply through being. You have always been enough. You were enough before you helped anyone. You were enough before you earned a single thank you. You were enough the moment you took your first breath on this earth. And you are enough right now reading these words with tired eyes and a tender heart. Tomorrow you might set your first boundary. You might pause before saying yes. You might pour yourself a cup of coffee and drink it slowly without checking your phone. Or you might do none of those things, and that is perfectly fine too. There is no deadline for healing. There is no test to pass. There is only this gentle unfolding one day at a time, one breath at a time. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. So rest now. Let go of the day. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the idea that you must earn your place in this world. Your place was never in question. It was always yours. Sleep well tonight knowing that the kindest thing you can do for the people you love is to first be kind to yourself. And that starts right here in this quiet moment with your eyes growing heavy and your heart finally at peace. Good night. You did wonderfully today. You always do.